So talk to us, tuambie unatupata ukiwa pande gani, tuambie atakane good morning pekee, umelalaje, uko na highlight ya wiki. Talk to us. The hashtag that you can use is Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, and for our individual handles, at Victor Olo, at Ray Manyara, as she has mentioned, and at Doreen Arange. My handle is the Jane Momboy across all the socials. And of course, the official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. But first, sijui kama Miss D, unataka tuone barabara, unataka tucheze vipi hapa?
Yeah, before tuanze in the headlines, I want us to take a very quick look on what is happening along Langata Road this morning. Also, this is simply because you can remember that late last year, a section of that road was closed. So today we just look at how the progress of that overpass, which is supposed to be constructed, is coming along, even as we check the traffic flow. All right, so before we check the progress, how about we just take a very quick look on what is happening on this specific route in terms of traffic. Also one of those busy road. This is Langata Road. That will be our focus this morning. And I want us to start from the Galleria Mall as you head over to the city center. Right now, not so bad. In fact, it's just green all through, so it just means that there's no traffic on this specific route. Again, as you get to branch off to Magadi Road, one of those sleep roads, they are still not bad. Just a small section here where there's a bit of a snarl up, but at least manageable kind of traffic, hence that orange color. But away from that, coming through as you head over to the city center via Langata Road past the Galleria Mall, roundabout there, and as well as also leaving city center, just coming through the specific area, still green, and this is again also on both of those either lanes there. Green all through, no traffic at all on this specific route coming all the way to the CBD. Where it just begins to slightly build up is next to the bypass. As this is again also as you come to the city center, and past there, things are opening up. So it's just next to this bypass where there's a bit of a gridlock, but still it's a manageable kind of traffic. And this is specific to that lane that is coming to the city center, which is obvious on most of major roads, especially here in Nairobi, particularly on those lanes that are coming to the CBD. This is basically what you'd expect to see. So what you're seeing is no different. And also away from that, coming still to the city center next to the Wilson Airport, there's still a bit of a traffic, and again also specific that lane that is coming to the city center where there's this actually ongoing works is around this area, which is the T-Mall roundabout. Just as you get to branch off to Mbagathi Way, also along Mbagathi Way, there's still some ongoing works there. But it's not, the heavy kind of traffic given the kind of roadwork activities that are ongoing on this specific route. This is how it is looking like this morning. This is the T-Mall roundabout as you leave Langata Road, still coming to the same route before you get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. And again, as you get to branch off to Mbagathi Way as well as Maimai Road, this is how the road situation looks like. It's only on some section. Specifically, as you get to branch off to Mbagathi Way is where there's a bit of a traffic, still a manageable kind of traffic. On the other side, as you get to branch off to again one of those sleep roads there, which is Maimai Road, still a bit of a traffic there, but moving at a very slow pace throughout this entire roundabout, one of those major roundabouts. And this morning hour, I would expect to see the kind of heavy traffic just because of the fact that it's one of those major roundabouts, branches off to some major roads as well as some sleep roads here and there. But this is how it is looking like this morning. So we do not need to look at any alternative routes, at least till that point. So what we will do in the next link-up segment, we'll continue exploring how that specific route is doing in terms of traffic, and also give you more updates on how this expansion process is going on and when it is expected to come to a close. This is still along Langata Road, Mbagathi, Maimai Road.
All right, after having a look at what's happening across our roads here in the city, let's now take a look at some of the stories making headlines on the Star newspaper. And on the front page of the paper says that why Kenyatta needs Raila in 2022 poll plan. Why President Uhuru Kenyatta needs Raila in 2022 poll plan, and it continues to say that Muhoho Kenyatta and Gideon Moi met with ODM leader yesterday at his current home. And still on the front page of the Star, we have Professor Patricia Mbote, who was grilled yesterday, who was interviewed yesterday by the JSC for the position of the Chief Justice, and she was taken to task over integrity issues. Now you can read that story on the Star newspaper. And still on the Star, MP Moses Kuria has been fined 75,000 shillings for flouting COVID rules. Gatundu South MP and 10 other persons were yesterday pleaded guilty to flouting COVID-19 restrictions and were fined 15,000 shillings each to 5 offences. If they fail to pay the fines, they will be locked up in prison for 6 months. And there is some good news for one lady called Beatrice Makoha, who is 68 years old, and she had lived with a growth for 21 years. And it is good news after the 3 kg tumor was successfully removed by the medics at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, and now she can have a normal life because the tumor was so big that it even blocked part of her eyesight and as well as interfered with her breathing. So good job to the doctors at the MTRH. And just a brief one, it is also the visit of Gideon Moi and Muhoo Kenyatta came 2 weeks after President Uhuru Kenyatta also visited Raila Odinga at his current home, where he also took him on a tour of the projects in the city center here in Nairobi. So this is something that is going to bring a lot of debate, having in mind that just 1 week ago, we saw Deputy President William Ruto and other governors as well as other leaders from the Mount Kenya region meeting Deputy President William Ruto, as well as people who are also allied to ODM leader Raila Odinga. Now this is creating a lot of mixed reaction and mixed signals in the political arena, but that is just politics. Let's wait and see how it's going to pan out in the coming weeks and months. Jane?
Let's now move on to the front page of the Daily Nation. Not too busy today, but just starting with the 2 stories there on the top. The question about Ramadan, with Muslim clerics and faithfuls appealing to the president to allow them extended curfew hours just to make sure that their prayers are done in the mosque. And of course, this has been a concern that has been also, ringing quite the voice in the social media. We'll be looking at that story in a bit. But now coming to this incident that happened this past weekend in Nakuru, where 3 patients died after the oxygen plant failed for an estimated 4 hours, but was restored once supply was sorted out and brought to the hospital. We'll be looking at the details of what transpired, as has been captioned here on the Daily Nation. That story concerning the visit to Raila's home by Gideon Moi and Muhoo Kenyatta is the main story here on the front page of the Daily Nation. And looking at analysts, they come out to say that this meeting was just to reassure the people and critics and opposition, those in the opposition, that the handshake between President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga is still going strong, and issues to do with any coalition or coming together with the Ruto's camp is nowhere in sight. We'll be looking at how this story has been captioned here in the Daily Nation in not too long. And finally, again, the search for CJ does continue, with Professor Kameri's Mbote interview having been highlighted here. Just looking at what were the highlights of that particular interview rather, if you were not able to catch it. We'll be giving you the details as has been captioned by the different dailies this morning. And finally, SACCO wants teachers to cough up 4 billion Kenya shillings worth of investments. Details coming up in a bit. Ray.
Focusing on what we, or rather the scribes at the Standard, have given precedence is at the front page is matters of succession politics come 2022. That particular meeting there that happened at, ODM leaders' residence there. A series of caucuses that have characterized the ODM leader's diary. That is on Saturday. He met the president for 6 hours, while yesterday he hosted Gideon Moi and Muhoo Kenyatta.
And the question is, so what is cooking behind the scenes? As we say, a day in politics is quite a long time. Political analysts have come out to say that this is a move to, you know, discourage Ruto and the Ruto camp. There's been talk about an alliance. Well, some of his close allies, and this is the none other than Deputy President William Ruto, saying there's no way the two that can actually work, but others, another faction saying, well, if there are talks and, you know, your wants and needs are met, well, this might just happen. We'll be keenly focusing on what is happening in the political scene. Remember, 2022 is just but a few months away. And when you talk about matters 2022, the BBI report and its subsequent passing is something else that also continues to shape the political arena. Ramadan Mubarak to our brothers and Muslim brothers and sisters. And this is at a time, you know, we're dealing with the COVID-19 with some requests there to extend ours there during this holy month of Ramadan. We'll also have the updates in regard to this. And now matters of stalled projects. There's been a lot of talk ahead of the reading of the budget 2021-2022 as to what happens to the government's Big Four agenda, especially projects and infrastructure. Are they still going to take center stage in this fiscal planning of the year to come, or rather the year beginning July, 1st of July? Well, this is a tale of an expensive white elephant, as 157 projects have been put on ice. You can get further details as we proceed with matters in the headlines. Onto a human interest angle, a story that has been given precedence on the front page of The Standard this morning. It's a feature where a woman donates her breast milk to orphans. Would you? Well, I remember there's a conversation we were handling here on Trending Topics, how bodybuilders are actually taking breast milk to boost muscle growth. I don't know what Victor will have to say in regard to that matter, being that he's male here and he's the one who's dealing, you know, with all muscles and such. Well, that is just to give you a sneak peek of what has found itself on the front page of The Standard this morning. Victor, you want to respond to that? Breast milk to build muscle structure?
In the first place, how do they get that breast milk?
I mean, it is sold.
They buy it.
They
Where?
don't suck it off the mammary glands in the...
I'd love to know where they get their stock from, and whether it is in constant supply.
Oh, trust me.
I mean, yeah.
It's breast milk,
It's
so it
breast
has
milk.
to be in constant supply.
Okay, so somebody's around 45 years old, is a bodybuilder, 35 or something of that sort. You still take breast milk?
Yes,
You know,
to build
basing
muscle
on the science that breast milk,
is nutritious.
the backing, yeah.
I think we are getting a little bit too far out of this. I mean, you can just go to the gym and tone your body, breast milk, I think, should be preserved for the people who
protein
deserve.
shake.
Exactly. Okay.
He's not for that.
Now that you're talking about breast milk, have you been on social media yesterday? Well, there was a lawyer in a compromising situation. But being the national broadcaster, that we will not bring to light. But I'm sure you've all come across what was happening there on socials. But that was just on a lighter note on what has been given prominence on one of the dailies, happening to be The Standard this morning. Continuing having a conversation with us on social media. Remember, we are also streaming live, so you can get further details. As we proceed in the headlines, our website is www.kbc.co.ke. Doreen?
All right, so before you go to those details, how about we look at just in a nutshell how the front page of the PD looks like, and still matters with politics dominate the paper, and describe this morning with that and just the same breath in regards to the meeting which the former premier had with Gideon Moi as well as Muhoho. This is what the main header just goes by, saying that fixing the Uhuru succession matrix, and also details are emerging that part of what formed their conversation was in regards to matters BBI projects and the way forward in regards to that constitution amendment bill. Away from that, also coming to matters COVID-19, the president now chairs vaccine crisis meetings, and now it also emerges that those who received the first jab are likely to wait just a little bit longer, and this is as the state explores alternative sources of fresh supply, even as reports that India had suspended the exports, and this is of the AstraZeneca vaccine. And again, over the recent times, or better still, in the recent times, rather, there's been a lot of cases of police violent cases amongst police. So there's a specific article that just goes to show us, and I'll be telling you all about that in a short while, of why stress and trauma push police to the edge, and giving you more details of what is coming about in this particular article and how they are attributing most of these death cases that we have been witnessing amongst police to stress and trauma. And again, also, the four CJ nominees are unsuitable to hold office. This is one of those reports that have just been filed by a couple of complainants. Yesterday, we were looking at a similar one which had been filed by the family of Philip Murgo, citing the same. So which four CJ nominees are this, even as the third nominee is expected to appear before the commission today? I'll be giving you all that in a short while. To the details now. Wamboi.
Tuanze na Daily Nation before tuingie pale yenye fikia konayo. Let's start with this particular story that I had mentioned here in regards to the incident that happened this past Saturday in Nakuru, where 3 patients died after there was an oxygen outage for an estimated 4 hours at the Nakuru Level 5 hospital. And mind you, this hospital serves Nakuru, Baringo, Samburu, Kericho, Narok, Nyandarua, and Bomet counties. So according to what experts who investigated this incident say, that there was a mechanical failure that disrupted the normal supply of oxygen into the hospital. And this consequently led to the death of 3 COVID-19 patients as a result of the shortage that was witnessed. That happened at around 3 p.m. and lasted 4 hours. Now, looking at the capacity of oxygen at this particular hospital, it is able to supply about 190 cylinders a day. But due to the increased need of oxygen, they're not able to produce the minimum required, that is 80 cylinders, and they only managed to produce 40 cylinders. Consequently, they needed to obtain an additional 140 cylinders from Nairobi and Eldoret that were used to salvage the situation. However, and of course this comes after, I think it was about a month ago, we did see the CS just expressing his concern over the fact that there are so many people and private hospitals that are holding oxygen tanks, estimated to be around 20,000 of them, and of course went on to urge them to return them to public hospitals where they are desperately needed. But looking at the demand of oxygen for us, majorly looking at the health system, a year ago, we had an oxygen supply of about 410 tons. This was before the first case was reported here in Kenya in March. Now, a year later, our oxygen demand has more than doubled to 880 tons a month. From 410 tons a month to 880 tons a month. And still, looking at all the major hospitals, and this is according to what the CS Health had to say, is that hospitals are operating at about 16% of what they need when it comes to oxygen supply, not nearly half of what is needed. And now that with the fact that COVID-19 is here, things are only getting worse. So if you are an individual or a private entity that still is holding on to some of these oxygen cylinders and you're not using it, maybe you could heed to this call by the CS to return them to hospitals, and most of public hospitals where they are needed, so we don't have a situation like this where in the event of a mechanical failure, hakuna backup, and consequently we're losing lives of our fellow Kenyans. More of that on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Fiki, before Vicky ukuje, I think we need to take a break to breathe in some oxygen. All right? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
your corner. When you need someone around, you get to the money, money. Sweat to the money, money. Nothing. Get to the money, money. No. What the hell are doing that? But it will always be done.
Welcome back. Let's continue to take a look at some of the stories making headlines today on our local dailies. And on the Star newspaper, prime suspect in Kiambaa family murder, that is Lawrence Warunge, is expected to be taken to court today to take a plea on the murder charges. Remember, this is a story that ran a few months ago where he murdered his parents and their farmhand in their home in Kiambaa. And today, he's said to be arraigned to take a plea after after the psychiatric examination proved that he is fit to stand trial. So it's something that is going to raise some concern on whether the judge is going, that is Kiambu Magistrate Patricia Gishohi, is going to set a hearing date on how the case is going to continue. This is a story that, of course, we will continue to take a look at in details. And in some politics, Mount Kenya leaders root for Kiunjuri to be Ruto's running mate. 2022 politics is coming hot and fast, and some of the Senate leaders, MPs, and some of the grassroots leaders, as well as business leaders, have been meeting in Nairobi and Kiunjuri's home place in Laikipia County to strategize on how they are going to make him the running mate of Deputy President William Ruto come 2022 general election. It's going to as well raise questions on how the dalliance between ODM leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto, as alleged, is going to pan out. But, you know, politics is politics, and anything is possible. And of course, lawmakers have summoned Ukur Yatani, the CS for Treasury, over IMF loan, and CS is expected to give more details of the 255 billion shillings facility, lenders' preconditions, and what the money will do. It is a story that has been running across the country, and Kenyans have raised a lot of questions and concerns over the debt that Kenya is accruing to this far. So, to this end, we will also keep an eye on that story, and of course, KBC Channel 1 will give you more details in our subsequent bulletin.
Now, talking about details and matters of politics, it seems that Governor Okoth Obado is finding himself in a pickle once again, as the Orange Democratic Movement Party Migori branch officials have given him a 7-day ultimatum to resign, saying that they have commenced the process of expunging his name from the party list of registered members. You question why? Now, they allege that his utterances that he has joined a rival party while he's still registered as a member of Orange Democratic Party, which contravenes the Political Parties Act and should not be condoned. Details by Suleiman Yeri in the following report.
The decision by Migori Governor Okoth Obado to rejoin the People's Democratic Party PDP seemed to have irked the Orange Democratic Movement Migori branch officials, who are now demanding that he tenders his resignation. The official blamed the top ODM top brass for meddling with the grassroots affairs, saying it's not the first time they are recommending penalties against the governor.
If he fails to step down, the county leadership shall recommend to the national leadership to process of his removal under Chapter 5, Article 5.4.1 of the party ODM Constitution.
Namwambia akome na atoke chama cha ODM kama anataka. Chama cha ODM, sisi kama MCA wa Migori tunasema tuko gangari.
Suna West Member of Parliament Peter Masara scoffed off Obado's new political affiliation, saying it will have no impact on the political landscape in the region.
PDP. He has been a member of PDP from 2013. What they need to tell us now is what they have done with their party. They have been given resources from the national government to the tune of, by now, for 10 or 9 years, it is close to almost 60 billion. Let them account for what they have done to the people of Migori. We were not worried about PDP.
Meanwhile, Matungu Member of Parliament Peter Nabolindo has thrown his support behind the One Kenya Alliance, saying it has what it takes to form the next government. The lawmaker called on other like-minded leaders to support the coalition ahead of next year's general election.
Actually, I believe that Matungu was the arena of this unity. They found a reason to be together. And since they found that reason to be together, and it's a good reason, they will continue being together as we progress even in the future.
Elsewhere, the Kericho County Assembly's Appointments Committee on Tuesday vetted Deputy Governor nominee Lily Ngok at the Assembly's chambers. Ngok had a difficult time answering questions from the panel, especially on the county government flagship projects. The Education CEC was nominated for the position by Kericho Governor Paul Chepkwony 2 weeks ago, following the demise of Deputy Governor Susan Kikwai. Suleimanieri, Channel 1 News.
Now, so much has been said in regard to, what is happening in the political scene. That is what is happening to Governor there, Koth Obado there. But now, crossing over to matters of COVID-19 and the failure to adhere to the laid down, safety measures. Now, Gatonda South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria found himself, arrested alongside other 29 other suspects and fined 75,000 shillings in regard to this matter. He was apparently on a merrymaking spree in Kiambaa past curfew hours. And I know so much has been said in regard to his arrest, but first let's get the details, then we give you an opportunity to weigh in on this particular move. Here's a report by Ruth Bomboy.
Gatundu South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria and his co-accused were arraigned before Chief Magistrate Stella Adambo on Tuesday, where they pleaded guilty to breaking COVID-19 containment measures.
They will never do it again going forward. And definitely, if you are to exercise your discretion and give them an unconditional discharge, they give a personal pledge that this will be the last time you'll ever see them appearing before the court being arraigned in respect to this kind of charges.
The legislator and his co-accused were fined 75,000 Kenya shilling each, or a 6-month imprisonment.
15,000 each in this 8 months imprisonment. Exhibits number 1 to 4 will be submitted to the state. These sentences run consecutively, and anybody who is aggrieved by the state has a right of appeal of 48 days.
The government has in recent days reiterated that no one will be spared if found to have flouted the COVID-19 containment measures. Elsewhere, police carried out a crackdown in Nanyuki town, arresting all those flouting COVID-19 measures a day after Laikipia County government said it is under immense pressure to deal with the rising COVID-19 patients.
COVID-19 cases imeenda juu kuliko hata diseases. Ndio sababu leo tumeform hii kamati na waanze hiyo kazi mpaka siku ambayo tunaona tumepata majibu ama tuone kwamba tumereduce the impact of COVID-19 cases.
Led by OCPD John Tarus and Deputy County Commissioner Esther Mwamure, the officers raided various places in town where they arrested over 50 people.
Mtu mwenye atapatikana hana mask na hata mwenye ambaye ameivaa vibaya tutamchukulia hatua. Koti iko wazi. Tunataka kuambia saa hii tukiwashika munakuja mnakuwa booked na munaenda kotini.
Laikipia County has so far recorded 2,010 COVID-19 cases, out of which 249 were recorded in the last 10 days.
There you have it. So if you're found flaunting COVID measures, safety measure rules, as well as, not properly masking, then you risk a fine or some jail term. The government putting in place, or rather ensuring that the safety measures put in place are adhered to. Just borrowing from yesterday's statistics is that we had over 990 Kenyans testing positive for COVID-19. While the positivity rate might have come down slightly, but we are not out of the woods. So, as I always ask you, are you social distancing, properly masking and sanitizing, or thoroughly washing your hands with running water and soap? If either of those is no, then you need to up your game. Doreen.
But now we look at the vaccine and the crisis therein, where the state is now, the state was held a crisis meeting, at least to find alternative sources in regards to these vaccines, given the fact that the persons who took the first jab, that was around the early weeks of March, are expected to wait a further 4 weeks on top of the 8 that they were supposed to wait, given the suspension of the AstraZeneca vaccine by India. And the reason as to why they have suspended this is because of the hike in COVID-19 numbers in the Asian continent, specifically also in India, given the fact that they want to make it for domestic use, so for their own. So hence the reason of the suspension of that. So now what this means is that the persons who took the jab in March will have to perhaps wait till either end of May or early in June. However, the state, like I mentioned, held a crisis meeting, at least to find and explore ways in which they can find other alternative sources or other alternative vaccines that they can administer to Kenyans. This particular article continues to highlight that, so you can get to read that on the PD. That's on page 6. And away from that, that story that made it to on the front page, and this in regards to police officers and why stress and trauma is sort of pushing police to the edge. So this actually just came about as a result of the action by Hudson Wakise, to pumping 8 bullets into the body of his wife, that is Pauline Wakasa. It has opened the lid on increasing mental anguish among police officers. So this has a peek now into the life of most police officers. It just shows that the exposure to different routine here and there of stressful condition, the officers come across abuse, domestic violence, homicides, and horrific car crashes. And at times they are sent to keep law and order in areas where they brutally engage with rioters. Also, this repeated exposure to these stresses and events has in most cases been associated with developmental or critical conditions, which include burnout, depression, anxiety, and after the exposure, many are left to their own devices. So it just means after all this which I've mentioned, they have none to talk to, they have nobody to express whatever it is that they are going through. So now what the police service is doing, at least as of yesterday, they put out an advert for a manager, counseling service, senior counselor, and social workers in an effort to at least curb this rising cases of deaths among police officers. So this particular article just continues to highlight some of the things that police officers go through, not having anyone to talk to, which is what results sometimes the number of death cases that we are witnessing, at least in the police service. So that is what they have put out there, at least to be able to get these persons to which the police officers can confide in and talk to after all, the hustle and bustle and all that they go through the police service.
Let's now come back to the Daily Nation and go to the back page. Now, if you are a car owner and you have a customized number plate, to which guys are paying up to 30K to just get, you are in trouble in the next coming 2 weeks. Now, there is an ongoing crackdown on cars with illegal number plates. They are considered illegal. Again, this just goes to expose the loopholes that have been created by the lack of a centralized system of vehicle registration here in our country. So as of yesterday, there were hundreds of vehicles that were impounded here in Nairobi. And just looking at those that have the authority to when it comes to the production of number plates and the registration of vehicles, it is controlled by the Ministry of Interior through NTSA. All right. It was previously under KRA, but due to issues revolving around security concerns, it is now under the Ministry of Interior, of course, through NTSA. So for the past 2 days, they have been impounding vehicles with customized number plates across the country for violating the traffic registration of plate use. And this is according to NTSA Deputy Director in charge of training. This is one Mr. Wilson, who yesterday said that the crackdown that started on Monday will continue for the next 2 weeks. And this is in line with just arresting all those that have mimics, quote unquote, of the new generation number plates, which has been, of course, held back due to back and forth court fights over the years. But the whole idea was to have computerized license plates that enable the embedding of anti-counterfeit features, which also make it easier for the police to trace information about the vehicles and their owners. That was the whole idea of this new generation number plates. But now, even looking at the outlook of these number plates, there have been those garages that are mimicking the whole idea and consequently charging car owners and up to 30,000 to just get these plates that resemble these digital identifiers. And NTSA has warned that they are going to be arresting anyone who is found to be having this customized number plates. And Nairobi County has been leading this so far. On Monday alone, they impounded an estimated 83 vehicles for having this customized number plates. So if you are among this lot, jua vile utacheza, because otherwise NTSA is coming for you. 30K, guys, for customized plate, only for you to be arrested for going against the rules.
Someone said, Kenya, we have the ugliest number plates. I'm like, okay. That's why maybe we have someone driving Omolo 1.
The way I've seen so many vehicles with customized plates.
Yeah, Omolo
in a day
1,
alone.
Mandazi 1, you know. Mandazi 1 Simba. Ficta. Mimi napenda mandazi.
But you can imagine the number of vehicles that are going to be arrested.
But let's be very honest. Nitakosa je kupenda mandazi na same carton how much? 65
60 mandazi.
60 bob.
Yeah.
Wacha tu nikule mandazi.
Is,
you see advantages of mandazi. You make
yes, 2 kgs.
Yes, then you add a little bit of cinnamon, then a little bit of lemon.
Lemon zest.
Yes, then kaskari, kaumbali. And
if you want to be bougie,
then you pack it somewhere. Then
and it
that
can run
economics
through
of
like
scale.
3 days.
I think
and
we
if
need
you want to be bougie, unaongeza nutmeg.
Okay, kuna hapo nutmeg.
Kailiki.
Yeah.
You know?
But to see when you look at that, how many families can afford a packet of wheat flour,
and all that.
Futa, and all that.
But
so
I think we also need to address the issues of economics of scale.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I think it's a high time we started having these conversations, because looking at a majority of us fall under the cadre of the middle class, because that is the middle class that is paying these taxes, yeah, and is feeling the pinch. You see, someone was arguing, a financial analyst was arguing, that people who feel when inflation goes up or down are the middle class. Person who is already below that cadre, that is a normal day for them. Those who are already on the elite or the upper class, they may not even know even how much a loaf of bread costs. But us who are the majority, the middle class, are the ones who feel the pinches when it comes to, and we need to have those conversations. Like, other than mandazi, I think people, when you make your leftover ugali, I don't know what you do with it, but I learned that if you you can actually take it as an accompaniment to your chai.
Escort.
The next morning.
You can escort your tea, turungi, or whatever it may be that you're taking in the morning with that piece of ugali. You know?
Ray, the question is, I think it's also high time that we go back to our roots. We have got, you know, the cassava used to be there. We have got the arrows, the dumas. You know, we have got groundnuts, very good for breakfast, you know. And
githeri.
yes, even githeri. And talk of economy. Yeah, talk of economy.
Kwanza hiyo na chumvi. You know, after you've just chemushed your githeri, this is beans and maize for those who are bougie, you don't know what githeri is.
Githeri.
Now that githeri.
It's a mixture of monocotyledon and dicotyledon.
Basically, beans and maize. Then you boil them together. Then before hata ukaange, hata usikaange, but you prefer utakaanga na kitunguu na mafuta kidogo na chumvi.
Bila nyanya.
Bila nyanya.
Alafu na chai asubuhi.
Hapa tu.
Lakini kama ni Mkikuyu unaongeza waru.
Na carrot.
Warudu.
Watu wa waru, we are not discussing, but
warumoto.
So actually the rise of prices in this basic commodities sort of like makes us to start thinking
outside the box.
Yeah.
And now being the 14th, it is the 14th, right?
Right.
Trust me,
mid-month pinch.
We should not expect a miracle.
And good news from the...
Or good news from the EPRA.
Right.
Yes. Naona mafuta ya bei ya mafuta bado ikipanda. It has been on an upward trajectory since January.
Right.
Now, I don't think anything will change because if you look at the landed cost of this of fuel, then there's that issue of the dealer's margin. That is where problems come in, as well as because if the dealer's margin takes up around 8 shillings or 9 shillings, let's give an example with the latest report of the EPRA where the landed cost was around 24 shillings and a few cents for a liter. Then add 8 shillings, then now add the taxes therein. We land at 84. Then now we do the markups.
Actually, let me make it clear and simpler for the common mwananchi.
Oh, please, thank you. Did I go tech? Sorry.
They say that the fuel prices is likely to go up today. And sources indicate that the price of super petrol will at least go up by 6 bob, pushing the average price to at least 128 shillings and 87 cents. A litre of diesel is expected to increase to 114 shillings and 56 cents from a current 107 and 66 cents, signaling an almost 7 shillings jump. Now, kerosene, which mostly used by households in Kenya, is also likely to rise to 100 shillings, past 100 shillings from the current 97 shillings. Now, the expected jump is today, expected to take effect, that is tomorrow. So if you can fuel today, go to the pump and fuel. And being that monthly review, we expect EPRA to give more details on that. So talk about economy, talk about skyrocketing prices and vitu kadhalika. It's going to pinch, and having in mind that most people are still going to work is going to affect most Kenyans, more so the car owners. What do you think about that, Ray?
It's funny how
even the transport
prices are skyrocketing and incomes are diving.
Then someone says, and so much has been said, especially on social media, with even private sector people just coming out and say that this time, don't think about making profit, just survive, because the poor have become poorer with COVID-19 disruptions and such, while the rich have actually made a killing. There's someone who was giving the statistics globally, how many billions have been made by those who are regarded to as millionaires, as in comparison to those who are considered poor, how poor they have been over the last 1 year. And they said this is it's a phenomenon of wealth transfer from the poor to the rich, instead of it being from the wealthy to the rich. At this point, the cost of fuel going up again is going to push inflation, and how many people have lost their jobs in the last 1 year alone? Look at the industry that have been worst hit, the tourism industry or the hospitality industry. Even public transport is also suffering. Basically, even just mama mboga in the streets and such, everyone is feeling the pinch of where we are as an economy. So I really don't even, I'm very anxious, by the way, I'm very anxious about the budget this year, because we are looking at estimates of 3.02 trillion shillings, and at the back of my head, I'm asking myself, government does not have money. It relies on your taxes and my taxes. So businesses have been asking, if I've been making a loss, then why should I be paying taxes? And that was fully explained here. It works on the premise of profits that you made last on your business. We'll be talking taxes as we proceed, especially next week there. Kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea, lakini mali imefika.
Na kujitegemea. Matutafutie mtu wa kutegemea.
Oh, and you see, it's not only the car owners, the entire transport sector.
Hata wewe mwenyewe today, you board a matatu, even the commuter, everyone.
Because how many Kenyans actually use the public transport compared even to the car owner? So it's actually just the entire sector as a whole. And even Ray has talked about Kenyans having lost jobs. Even as we speak, there are some who are still even losing jobs up till now.
Yes. And those who haven't entirely lost their jobs, they have pay cuts.
There's someone who asked me, so when we first confirmed our first case of COVID-19, and that was in March last year, there was a lot of talk on lockdown and such, you know, just trying to see how to contain the issue in regard to even what was happening across the globe. Then someone quipped and said, do you think Kenya could sustain, you know, a stimulus that would support the populace during that time? Could government really feed you and I?
Very good question.
Could it? That's a rhetorical question. Remember, we value your feedback. You can get us on Twitter at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara. We have at Jane Wamboy, at Doreen Arange, and at Victor Olo. Yes. Now, talking about that, I don't know if you'd want to take the story on matters of food security. Victor, I don't know if you have it. You people have it on the dailies there. But we have been talking about matters of food security, and there's been talk about, you know, a maize shortage. Now, in the conversation around the issue of, you know, maize shortage, is that yesterday 39 lorries that were sneaking into Kenya maize from Uganda were nabbed at the border. Now, according to the Agriculture Food Authority, the vehicles the vehicles were using ungazetted border entry points and are currently detained at the 2 police posts. Now, this comes at a time when there's been claims by millers that Kenya is staring at a maize shortage, and government continues to maintain that we have enough stock. To put this matter into perspective is a report by Benson Rioba.
The government said no importer had met the phytosanitary standards put on maize imports from the neighboring countries after the blanket ban on maize was lifted.
So far, none of those people who are importing maize has met these standards. Nobody has. Until they are registering, but nobody has now brought in maize with this documentation.
However, unscrupulous traders have been trying to import maize from the East African nations illegally. According to the Agriculture and Food Authority, heightened surveillance has seen 39 lorries transporting maize from Uganda nabbed at ungazetted entry points. 25 lorries are currently being held at Busia Police Station, while 14 are at Adungosi. Kenya had banned maize imports from the neighboring countries after maize consignments from the countries contained high levels of aflatoxin. However, after review and bilateral talks, Kenya lifted the ban and imposed tough safety conditions that importers were to meet to ship in maize. Among other conditions, transporters, importers and processors were to be issued with a registration certificate as required by the Crop Act of 2013, with traders stating where their maize consignment will be stored. Importers were to be issued with a certificate of conformity from their country of origin to ensure they meet the EAC grain standards. The government has assured Kenyans the current restrictions will not result to a maize shortage, as the favorable weather conditions point to a surplus of 11.8 million 90-kilogram bags of maize by the end of May. This, as the government says, a 90-kilogram bag of maize is retailing at an average of 2,600 shillings in most parts of the country, with the highest prices of 4,392 shillings reported in Garissa County, while the lowest of 1,980 shillings per bag reported in Laikipia County.
No, while that was happening, tunasema tunapenda mandazi.
Yes. Ndio hizo.
Ni tamu.
But we need to have like a series, and we're just talking with Ray here.
Yeah.
Looking at these COVID times, how are we as a people adjusting to what we thought was normal to this new normal to just help us survive? Not a question of thriving, surviving. Hapa tumepiga tu hesabu, a bread to feed a standard family of 4. Ni so 100 bob.
And it will be eaten
for one day.
One day.
Packet ya mandazi, it goes for 124. 2 kgs.
Yes.
And it's ready, by the way. Siku hizi kuna ready made. Inakuja ikiwa tayari, unaongezea tu maji ama maziwa depending with what you want. Unakanda, unapika. Na it can feed that same family for about 4 days.
Yes.
Then look at it this way. If you buy a packet of unga that is at 160, 170, yeah, maize. Sondeke ugali vizuri.
That is 2 kg.
Yes.
Na uwezi pika yote hata.
Fine, hautapika tago. You have that for dinner. Following morning yenye ilibakia, do away with the bread issue. Take your ugali with your chai.
Alternatively,
so
kila
nice.
siku chai.
Some strong tea.
Do strong tea, do porridge.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
You can
We have to
change.
survive this.
Because where we are,
mandazi ni tamu.
because where we are is just a question of getting ways to survive. That's also Victor talked about. How about you go back to our roots? Ukienda uko ushago, unaweza kuja na nini just for the sake of at least ensuring that you survive.
If we can't thrive, let us survive.
The ndoma, the cassava, the arrowroot, the sweet potatoes. Those things that you've been
even
ukiona
boiled
kwa shop.
maize peke yake. I see it's such a delicacy. Watu hapa hivi wanajua.
Director Mato anasema kwanza hata ile ugali ya kusiaga. Unajua that one when you eat kwanza asubuhi, that one stays
It's tasty, but
the entire day.
You take strong tea na unga kusiaga ugali, boss, hautakula for 2 days because you're constantly satisfied. I mean, we just have to go back to our roots.
You're party 2 days.
But it lasts you a long while.
But it is very filling.
Emphasis noted.
It is. The question is, right? A packet of maize flour right now goes for 20-something shillings.
Yeah. Up to 170, depending on the brand that you
Now, 2 tin of, they call it gorogoro, of maize.
Gorogoro moja grade 1.
Exactly, can go for around, is it 60 shillings?
60, 80.
60, thereabout. So if you have got like 10 kgs of that in Oshago, or even around Nairobi, we have got posh meal around these places. Go buy, you know, gorogoro of mahindi, go to the posh meal, siaga it, you have a whole maize meal. It will survive you for like 2 weeks. Because that ugali by the way, it's so heavy, you cannot, where's the kula tree vivi? It's not like the normal ones we take, you know?
And sometimes it can even last a month, depending on the number of persons in that particular family.
Yeah. And now that courier service is still working, tell those people in shags to bring for you nduma, mchele, you know, mahindi, you boil and...
And if you don't have access, these days we are having balcony gardens.
Good.
Get a kapot for yourself, plant whatever you can to help you cut costs on some of these things that we buy on a daily.
Actually, they are calling that an adaptive mechanism that has been observed over the last 1 year owing to COVID-19, especially in peri-urban areas. People are practicing what we're calling vertical agriculture. This is where you use your balcony, you stack up some crates or such, or even using strings and planting your dania, your sukuma wiki, your tomatoes here and there. Because right now, a fruit of tomato is retailing at 25 shillings.
Yes.
25 shillings.
And you can do without it, by the way.
Sio lazima.
Sio lazima.
Just finding ways to adapt. I mean, less difficult times.
Prioritize our spending, you know?
But you know, it goes to even us as a people. We can't just drop what we are used to and pick up something. We also have to understand that we need to unlearn and relearn. Adopt and adapt. Sawa tungu, yes. And with that, Mr. Director amesema it's time we put a cap on. Good morning. Good morning, Kenya. Skia mimi.
On in the headlines. And before you actually wrap it up for us, is to remind our viewers that Honorable Lady Justice Kome Martha Karambu will be taking her slot, or rather her seat, on the hot seat this morning as the JSC interviews proceed at 9 a.m. this morning, and we're going to be transmitting that live to you. Remember, for Lady Justice Kome there, it will be a second stab at the position. She last did that in 2016 and did not succeed. Will 2021 be her day, or rather her day? Well, we'll be keenly watching, so do keep it right here on KBC Channel 1.
And also, just before we get to close, just a reminder for those who have been following the story in regards to the late Betty Barasa. She will be laid to rest today, and of course, as the KBC fraternity, we still continue to mourn such an amazing lady that was taken away too soon. May she always rest in peace.
May she rest in peace and grace to the family.
Amen and amen. Stay with us. More coming up.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Mke wangu mimi napata contract kwa mzee Twaha kufanya stage show. Stage show? Stage show. Stage show hii kutengeza makabati ya kuosha vyombo.
Kwanza na nini wewe?
Nilikuwa nakuondoa vumbi kidogo.
Shida yako nini wewe?
Mpangaji wenu yule? Ni mpangaji wetu? Nataka rumu ile. Basi mimi nakosea naona nini?
Bwana sielewi ya mambo jamani. Mama bunja huku. Ni mtu gani mnaletea? Kundi gani huyu? Anaingia kwangu bila adhabu. Ndio huyu mnaletea. Hebu toka hapa kwanza. Ndio anaonekana huku. Kutoka mnaletea hana adabu.
Next on.
Mimi talipa. Sio na wasiwasi. Mimi ndio nimejitolea. Hata wewe ukitaka kunywa mwanamume akipenda huwa na furaha na nguvu. Hii barua ni yangu, nataka unisomee. Na kama uko na uchawi unasemaje barua sasa? Iska umada.
So this is our focus this morning. We're still looking at what is happening along the Langata Road, specifically around this area where there's that overpass being constructed. Still ongoing works here. This is a project being done by what you call the PPP, the public-private partnership, which just only means it's a partnership between the state, which is the government of Kenya, with an outside company. So this is how it is looking like this morning in terms of traffic. Still not that bad, regardless of those ongoing works. This specific area or road, a section of it was closed on late 2020, that was around November there, at least to necessitate that. So this particular overpass, the elevated part will cater for vehicles coming from Ongata Rungai as well as Magadi, and the underpass will cater for vehicles coming from areas around South Sea as well as Mbagathi and Maimahiu, coming all the way from Maimahiu. That's actually coming all the way from South Sea through this specific route. So part of what at least they're trying to do in regards to with this overpass is obviously first of all reduce on the traffic flow, and that is why it will have the overpass as well as the underpass. They haven't quite mentioned when this particular project will come to a close or end, at least until all that section is already opened up to the public. But as far as what we know right now is that a section of it is already closed, and still there are ongoing works, especially around this particular roundabout. If you're someone who uses this route, then you can clearly witness around this area there's a lot of ongoing road works, and not just specific to Langata Road or even the Timor roundabout. Also, on one of those roads that branches off from this specific roundabout, which is in Mbagathi, where there's still some ongoing works there. That is in regards to that footbridge, which is being constructed or installed rather along Mbagathi Way. So in terms of traffic, this is how it is looking like. Earlier on, at least, it was a smooth sailing, no traffic at all. More of what you were seeing, or better still witnessing, was the green color, which simply means or indicates that. But right now, things have changed altogether. And this is again why I was saying earlier, if at all you are using this route or intend to use this route, especially coming to the city center, then that time was clearly the best time for you to do that. Because right now, just as you leave the areas around the bypass, in fact, after the bypass, coming all the way to the city center, it is what we are seeing right now is just that heavy kind of traffic, not moving at all, at a standstill. And this is how it is actually looking like. This actually comes all the way from just as you leave Magadi Road, before you get to the bypass there, coming all the way as you come to the city center, and again specific to that lane that is coming to the CBD. Look at the difference in colors there, the maroon color, the red color, which just simply means that there's really heavy kind of traffic on some sections, moving at a very slow pace, hence the red color. On some sections at a standstill, not moving at all. Now clearly this is why you're seeing it's very important to at least have that overpass and underpass which is being constructed there, at least reduce on some of these things, which is the heavy kind of traffic on this specific route, and again specific to that lane that is coming to the CBD. So if you're coming from areas around Langata, Rungai, coming to the city center, then clearly you'll have to make do with this traffic, especially just after you leave the bypass, because all through this entire stretch there is no alternative route. You'll have to make do with that traffic. However, if you're coming from CBD, coming from Mbagathi Way, coming from Maimahiu Road, all the way from South Sea, if at all you're coming through Langata Road going to those areas, then again it's just a smooth sailing for you. We'll try to look at some alternative routes as we move along, but just in terms of traffic, this is how it is looking like. And as I mentioned, this actually goes through the entire stretch, but it is the morning hour, and again, as I mentioned, on lanes or on on lanes that are coming to the CBD, especially here in Nairobi, what we are seeing is basically what we'd expect to see. There's really a lot of activities as you come to the city center, and most especially in the early morning hour. So this is again basically why we are really sporting this heavy kind of gridlock. However, it looks like things are opening up just a bit as you near the Timor roundabout. This is still on that stretch again as you leave the bypass. Looks like things are opening up a bit, but yes, in as much as they are, it is still the heavy kind of traffic, just moving at a very slow pace throughout the entire roundabout. This is how it is looking like. This is the Timor roundabout again, where those ongoing, where there's still those ongoing road works. At least not that heavy kind of traffic. Yes, in as much as there's a bit of a gridlock, at least a manageable kind of traffic throughout the entire roundabout. So past the Timor roundabout, still heavy kind of traffic being witnessed, and this again, it goes all the way through that entire stretch till the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. So actually where there's just a bit of ongoing roadworks is around this section, and perhaps this is why we are really spotting the heavy kind of traffic, given the fact that there's still some ongoing roadworks there. Away from that, you can use Mbagathi Way as an alternative route, because just as I mentioned, look at this, past the roundabout as you head over to the city center before you get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, it is still that heavy kind of traffic. So instead of using this particular road as you're coming to the CBD, you can branch off to Mbagathi Way, coming all the way to the city center. Mbagathi Way is not looking bad at all, green all throughout this entire stretch. The beauty of that is that this is actually on both lanes. However, it just begins to slightly build up next to Riara University, as well as you get to branch off to High Rise Estate. But also, where it's just beginning to really build up is on that section where there's still some ongoing road works. This is along Bagathiwe still, where there's that footbridge being installed. It has taken a bit of some time, also being done by the Kenyan Urban Roads Authority. They haven't also quite mentioned when we are expecting that to come to a complete, but this is how it is looking like. Just where there's a bit of a gridlock, moving at a very slow pace, is again on that section where there's also a section of that road which has been closed again to necessitate that construction, or that installation rather, of that footbridge. On the other side, on the other section, as you leave areas around Kong Road, Valley Road, Kenyatta, as you head over to Langata Road via Mbagathi, on that section, it is green all through, no traffic at all. Again, on some section, just as you get to branch off to Upper Hill, Link Road, that's just where there's a bit of a gridlock, but at least altogether manageable kind of traffic. So perhaps if you want to use this route as your alternative route, where you'll just have to make do with the traffic, this is along Bagathiwe, is as you near the Riara University, and also past Riara as you near the High Rise Estate. Past there, coming all the way through before you get to the city mortuary roundabout. In fact, throughout that entire section or stretch past those two areas that I've mentioned, it is green all through, no traffic at all. And this is why I was saying that if at all you're coming from Langata Road, going about your businesses to the city center, or even going through those areas, you can clearly use that as one of your alternative routes, because then again, along Langata Road, things are not changing at all. It's just the heavy kind of gridlock. And also throughout the roundabout, it has changed just this very minute. This is how it is looking like. Still, things are changing, and for the worst. This is around the Timor roundabout. You can remember that earlier on, in as much as we were spotting a bit of a gridlock, it was a manageable kind of traffic, but right now it has changed altogether, and what you're seeing now is that heavy kind of traffic throughout this entire roundabout. Past there, still coming to the CBD, the same situation being witnessed there throughout. As you get to the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, things are not changing at all, just heavy kind of gridlock. But still, it only means that still Langata Road remains one of our key focus roads, at least for a good for a good number of weeks, given the fact that still we have those ongoing works there in regards to that overpass and underpass, and also because you do not know when that construction will come to an end. But right now, this is how it is looking like in terms of traffic. Our focus is still on Langata Road.
Good morning, and thank you so much for staying with us. We are here once again. We are going to have a discussion for the next 1 hour or so, and this is The Viewpoint. My name is Victor Low. You can send in your questions, your comments, or even interact with us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Victor Low, and we'll be sampling some of your comments, questions at the tail end and during this particular program. Today we are going to talk about a range of issues, not particular one in that matter, so stay tuned, because whatever is affecting you could be affecting somebody else in general. And with me in studio and joining me via Zoom, I have David Matsanga, call him Daktari. Dr. David Matsanga, who is a lawyer. He calls himself a pan-Africanist and a political commentator, all the way from London. Matsanga, what are you doing in London? You're supposed to be in Kenya.
First, thank you very much. Although I live in London, I've lived in London for 36 years, and it is my home. The lockdown and other things found me here, but I'm still operating on the African continent very visibly. Very strong, and operating from all angles, from your maritime dispute, from Central African Republic, from Libya, from Tanzania. I am still operating, so don't worry about it. And don't just say Stockholm. I am a pure Pan-African. The spirit of Nyerere is here. The spirit of Kwame Nkrumah is in me.
Okay, Masanga, we'll get back to you in a short while. Just stay around. We have so much more to talk about. And with me as well, I have got Advice Mundalo, who is a communication strategist. And of course, Advice is here with me in the 254. Mundalo, good morning. Good to see you, bro. How are you doing this morning?
Good to see you, bro. I'm well, Olo. The morning is fine. We are waiting to see how the day comes along as the vetting of the Chief Justice candidates continue. So it's basically not a bad day.
Right, absolutely. So, Mundalo, you've just spoken about the interviews for the Chief Justice, which is currently ongoing. Let's start with that. What is the take so far? This is the third day, and we've seen one gentleman facing the panel, and yesterday we saw Patricia Mbote, professor, and today we have another candidate. So far, what is your take to this end? Are you satisfied with the way everything is happening?
I think I'm partly satisfied with the handling. I think the panel has tried very much to be very professional. They have tried very much to extend the interview to a wide range of issues. It has not just been the common routine interview. We've seen issues of integrity being raised, issues of corruption allegations with the EACC being raised. We haven't seen issues of the Sexual Offences Act being raised. So it's basically, I think the interview has gone to the far and the breadth that it should go. And we are hoping and praying that it will be able to deliver as the best candidate for the job, not just necessarily someone who would belong to the right tribe or arithmetic, but basically the right candidate who will sail through the interview, because Kenyans are able to see, Kenyans are watching, and I think we, as a public, we are also able to see who fits the bill. So I think generally the handling has been quite fine. The chair lady, Professor Mugenda, has really tried to have the panel as professional as possible, and we are hoping that we'll end up with the right Chief Justice.
Absolutely. And what do you expect? Today we have got Justice Martha Koome facing the panel. What should we expect?
Basically, I expect a very grilling session.
Right.
I expect that she will be put to task to explain most of her judgments that would have been rather considered controversial and such. And so basically, just like the other two interviews, I expect a very interactive session as well. A session that will be able to bring out the best in the candidate, and a session that will help us understand the candidate even much, much better.
All right. So let me bring in Dr. Masanga from London. Dr. Masanga, if you can hear me. The process has been ongoing, and integrity issues have also been raised during this grilling session. What stood out for you to this far?
First of all, thank you very much. I have been at the forefront, although fighting the former Chief Justice. From day one, I never liked Maraga. Day two, I never liked him. Day three, I never liked him until God makes us meet again. That is my stand on Chief Justice Maraga, because he became a political judge making side shows. So I am very, very pleased, man, as an African, that this judge is no longer in this court. About the recruitment yesterday, you know, for me, although when you call me on your show, expect fireworks, because I have been here, I'm 65 years old, I don't have anybody to fear except God. And I speak from the bottom of my heart, from the experience I've had, first as a refugee who landed up in this country called Britain, and second as an army officer who served very well, diligently liberated my country from Idi Amin's hands. So I will speak with experience and then plus education. And let's call it a spade a spade. The panel is a very good panel, but it has some few people who are not worth it. That's one. If you bring other judges who have interest in next time, Kenya government and the parliament should look at who should compose the JSC. It must be neutral. It must have 1 or 2 people who are attached to the court. If you bring people who have interest in the court, they will make the applicant fail. And that, I think my communication guy here will understand that I am saying something which is there. If you look at the way Judge Majaja was asking questions to Mbote, I am a teacher, I can teach Judge Majaja. I can tell him to get out of the panel.
Oh, okay,
those are
okay,
not
Masanga,
the type of...
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So in short, the panel should be changed a bit in next time. Let's have professionals from different backgrounds, but not people who have vested interest in the same judiciary.
But Masanga, let me cut you short. Let me cut you short. To this far, we all know that the panel is comprised of professionals. So let me ask you this question. Who do you think should fit the bill? What are some of the qualities that you, as a Pan-Africanist, should you think that that person who is going to take that position of the Chief Justice should possess? What are some of the qualities do you think one should have?
A person who will be able to defend the rule of law.
Right.
That's one. A person who will be able to work independently.
Yes.
With the executive, the parliament, because those branches are part of governance.
Mm-hmm.
But there is one branch which is above the two, which handles other matters that the judges don't handle, which handles other matters that the parliament doesn't handle. I want a person who is able to be running around that. I want a person who is able to bring that experience, to be able to be a good diplomat, a good negotiator, a good lawyer, a good persuasive language, a man who can not become to issue side show announcement roadside.
Right.
A man who cannot cry, oh, I have no money, I have no toilet, or I have no house, or I have no Mercedes-Benz. Judges in Britain, where I am, you really know who the Chief Justice of this country is. And I want to tell you, we are all from the Commonwealth for law. We take the law from the Commonwealth. And let's be very frank. It is very difficult to know the Chief Justice of Britain, which has 1,600 years of democracy. He doesn't come to talk. He doesn't give a press statement. He gives Mr. Mudalo work to issue statements. But the judge, the Chief Justice of Kenya, has become a press statement, a media man like a law, issuing statements every day. That is not, Kenya is not America.
All right.
Don't copy everything from America and confuse our style.
Okay, Masanga. Okay, Masanga, hold on. We'll get back to you. I hope London is taking you pretty well. We'll get back to you shortly. Let me just get back to Advice Mundalo. Mundalo, we have got Martha Koome today, Justice Martha Koome, who is going to face the panel. She is a lady of repute. What do you expect from her today?
As I said earlier, Olo, I basically expect that the panel will be able to get the best out of Martha Koome, because what we've seen in the past and what we've seen in the past 2 interviews is that the panel has been able to help Kenyans understand the candidates better.
Yes.
Because we know that, of course, the Kenyans do not necessarily know a lot about Martha Koome, but then it is the responsibility of the panel to bring out the very best in Martha Koome so that they can be able to expose it to the public, so that they can be able to know the kind of Chief Justice she would be able to make, like we were able to do yesterday and the previous day. So I think that is basically what I expect from the panel today. And when Professor Matanga talks about the panel comprising about an array of professionals, it is something I would more or less agree, because what he means is that we need, in a vetting process of the Chief Justice of the Republic, the bench does not need to be composed of lawyers only, because those are people of interest to the court. Now, the Chief Justice is a person of interest to the Republic. Now, it is only decent, therefore, that would have an array of people from the engineering world, from the communication world, from the journalism world, like every other professional who can be able to tap into this. Because what we expect out of a Chief Justice is basically administration, is what we are going to expect out of the Chief Justice, is administration. And you saw what I said in the last session on Monday. And I said my problem with the Chief Justice Maraga is that he banked too much on sideshows. He banked too much on seeking public sympathy and empathy. And he banked too much on creating a perception that he is a very good Chief Justice than just being a good Chief Justice. That is the problem that we had. So I think from this session, I'm hoping that we are going to have a Chief Justice who would be able to concentrate on the duties of a Chief Justice and not necessarily on sideshows. As I told you all on Monday, we cannot judge a Chief Justice by two occurrences. That one, he annulled an election, and two, he wrote a letter to the president. Then we say that's a good Chief Justice for 5 years. I think it doesn't work that way. We have to look at the common systems, the backlog of cases. When you look at the digitalization of the court system, it is something that is still crippling. And during these COVID times, courts are rarely even working. So you can be able to see that in terms of the real duties of the CJ as he was supposed to do, that is Justice Maraga, with all due respect, it is not work that I would applaud so much. And that is why I would want that the next Chief Justice would have a great concentration on his work, which would be mostly ensuring that the judiciary functions and not putting the judiciary at loggerheads with the executive. Because the judiciary is part and parcel of the government. So it must work in conjunction with the executive and the legislature to deliver to the Kenyan people. But when the judiciary becomes an activist wing of government, then that's why then government stalls.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mundalo. Briefly, we want us to shift to other matters, but let me bring in David Masanga. David Masanga, briefly on this matter. Of course, we saw former Chief Justice David Maraga having some kind of rough moment with the current regime. So what are some of the changes do you expect the next Chief Justice to undertake in the judiciary? Masanga.
First, thank you very much. And as I told you, we expect radical reforms in terms of putting alternative justice systems.
Yes.
You know, most of the backlog that comes in the court is because some smaller case could be solved outside the court. Each country has got alternative justice systems. I studied this, the highest IO, and we could help Kenya for free to arrange an alternative justice system such that some smaller cases can be solved outside the courts. Two, we expect a judge who is an administrator, who makes sure he pulls strings, not to interfere with the judgment, but to know what are the priorities for the nation. For example, people swindle money. For example, advise the parliament that this law is obnoxious. You give me the law where you have to give a man bail. A man steals money in Kenya on Friday. On Monday, he's brought to court in the morning. On Wednesday, he's enjoying money with the family in Zanzibar. He has been given bail already. I know Mudalo will talk about rights, the basic rights of human rights. Yes.
Okay, all right. Oh, all right. We see. It seems we have.
Change some of these things. Crimes against the economy.
Yes.
Are different from crimes which are normal. So I would expect a judge.
Okay, Masanga, it seems we're losing you briefly. Masanga, just hold on. Let's Masanga, if you can hear me, there's a problem with the network.
She has done it. Yes.
Okay.
No,
Masanga,
I hear you very well.
Masanga, hold on.
Maybe
it seems we're losing you. We'll get back to you briefly. Let's just rectify that network issue. All right, okay. All right, now let's just shift gears briefly and talk about Mundalo, if you can hear me. Yesterday we saw KANU Chairman Gideon Moi and President Uhuru Kenyatta's brother, that is Moho Kenyatta, meet ODM leader Raila Odinga at his current home. So, Muntalo, what do you read out of all this? Because talks have been rife over alliances, Raila Odinga being sidelined in the 2022 succession politics, and now KANU chairman, who is now a member of the One Kenya Alliance, meeting ODM leader Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta's brother Uhuru Kenyatta. What do you read out of all this, Mundalo?
Thank you. Although I told you here in the beginning that the One Kenya Alliance is an alliance that is more or less dead on arrival. Why? Because first of all, it is a coalition that has been made too early in time. It's when you create a coalition too early in time, you have a lot of room for infiltration. And that's why there is already talk of infiltration. That's why you're seeing Gideon Moi going the other way. Recently, we saw Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka talking as though not to be part of the One Kenya Alliance. We have to come to the realities of the Kenyan politics. And the Kenyan politics as it stands today is that the 2022 succession politics is a heavyweight for only Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. Those are the two main contenders of the 2022 presidential race. So I think with the time it is coming to the realization of the rest. And of course we are going to have these talks are going to be so many. We are going to have people meeting in. I'm sure, in fact, most of the meetings are not even on camera. So we'll have a lot of political realignments, And to me, it was not a shocker to see Honorable Gideon Moi and Muhoho going to meet Raila Odinga, because these are just basically political realignments, and they must be able to see which way forward. They must be able to see which is the best way to move forward. Because I'm sure Gideon Moi in the 2022 presidential race, he does not necessarily wants to be president. I'm sure that he is not interested in being president, but he's interested in being in a coalition that can deliver his presidency in 2027 or going forward. And that's why he must do his arithmetics right. And the only way for Gideon Moi to stamp an authority of relevance in the Kenyan politics and stamp a great influence in the Kenyan politics and move across this country in every bit and the far and breadth of it is when he works with Raila Odinga. Because Raila Odinga has crafted a political image of acceptability across the republic. When you go to the One Kenya Alliance, it is basically a coalition of tribal kingpins. It is basically about few regions, about 4 regions. So if Gideon Moi is looking at the longevity of his politics, then it is only right for him to look for a person who has a national outlook.
Right.
To Malindi, someone who can be able to say him across in the guise that he will be presenting that person for president. He will also be working on his own political ambition, and he'll be able to settle in a better position of the 2022 election for him to prepare himself for the presidency afterwards. Because trust me, Gideon Moi is preparing himself for the presidency of this country. Whether it is something we call a reality or a fallacy, it is something that is in the offing. So it is the reason why, therefore, he would want to align himself with someone who is national. And I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has also been able to see that whichever way he goes, the only national person, if he does not want to work with William Ruto, is Raila Odinga. Because it is very difficult to sell Honorable Musalia Mudavadi beyond Vihiga and Kakamega. Because the Western region alone, you can see that for even Musalia Mudavadi to sail through Western alone, he cannot be alone. He needs Moses Wetangula in Bungoma. So you can see Moses Wetangula is a king of Bungoma. Then Musalia Mudavadi is a king of Vihiga and Kakamega. So you see, it's already. So it is very difficult for Gideon Moi to align in that direction and really hope to be the president. So that's why he's looking for an affiliation with a nationally recognized political figurehead.
Okay, let me bring in Matsanga in this. Matsanga, you've heard what Agnes Mundala has just talked about. What is your take on this particular one? Because now it seems that everybody's trying to, to have that kind of bromance with Honorable Raila Odinga. Should One Kenya Alliance be worried? Matsanga?
Can I tell you one thing?
Tell me.
I agree with Dalo 100%. You know why? Although 3 years ago, I told you at a television station that East or West, the enigma of politics of Kenya, is Raila Amolo Odinga. And I want to give this credit. You can hate me, love me. Raila must be on the ballot. And don't tell people lies. Oh, about no. Raila is on the ballot. I am, if I were Kenyan this time, if I can be given nationality in Kenya, the first man I would go to vote for is Raila Amolo Odinga.
But Masanga, why are you?
Wait, don't bring in, but I am.
Okay.
I was one of the chief critics of Raila Odinga. I know that's what you want to ask me. But I have a vision for Africa. Raila and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, those are my people. Forget the rest. I'm not concerned. They took a step. No, wait. They took a step forward, shook hands, made a handshake, brought out 9 points.
Yes.
Or war, whether you run to heaven or hell, and come back. If you don't sort out those 9 points in Kenya, you remain a good, vibrant democracy per se, on lips. Oh, we are democratic. But if you don't sort out the 9 points, the two gentlemen shook hands off and they said these are the things that kill Kenya. You are just going in a mirage. So for me, my vote, and I want to repeat here so that people can hear on this national TV. I am, if I were Kenyan, my vote will go with Raila Amolo Odinga. Give him 5 years. He has suffered.
Yes, Masanga.
He has suffered.
Okay, all right.
Give him 5 years. The alliance you are talking about, you are hearing me, I'm hearing you very well. The alliance we are talking about, Oro, the alliance of Mudavadi should join. They should run very quickly and join Raila Odinga in order to have a slot. Mudaro, be honest, just tell them the truth. Join quickly. Then you can be seen around there. Mudavadi is more or less a bishop. He can preach in church. Raila is an orator. Raila can charge you and give you political, you can stand up and say exactly. Look at Uhuru Kenyatta, look at Raila. When they come to speak. Finally, before I finish, another motor machine who would have been very well if he didn't have encumbrances of theft, corruption, and so many things surrounding him, hustle and nature, what? That would be another good person. But he has got a lot of encumbrances that he is holding a big burden. That's why he's swimming to nowhere. Have you heard of a road to nowhere? A train to Suswa, a train to Ruvuma, to Mutwara in Mozambique, to nowhere. So these are some of the things you should consider. But Raila Amolo Odinga will be on the ballot come 2022. He will lead. I am telling you where I'm standing.
Okay, Masanga, just hold on that. Hold on. Okay, you made your point, Masanga. Let me bring in Mundalo here briefly. Okay, all right, Masanga. Okay, yes. All right. Point noted. I'll get back to you shortly. You can take a cup of tea in London. We are coming back to you shortly.
Don't
advice.
Worry.
All right. Advice Mundalo, sorry. We seem to be having a lot of talks about who is going to go where and who is going to take what kind of position and all that. But let me just bring this kind of question. Should One Kenya Alliance be worried now that, Gideon Moi had a talk with Raila Odinga? Should they be worried? Should they start crafting how they are going to mend bridges probably in future?
I think the biggest mistake, although I've always said here, is that the One Kenya Alliance was made too early. It was made too early and it has no proper direction because it is an alliance of more or less equals. Now, in political arrangement, when all the people are equal, it becomes very difficult for them to be controllable, because then we even don't know who is the head of the flock. That becomes the problem. Because the first problem, the One Kenya Alliance, it was just a ticking time bomb that maybe would have only delayed, but the rapture was just soon to come. Because as soon as they would have asked then who would be the flag bearer of the One Kenya Alliance, then disintegration would have obviously started. Because once you have people who believe that they are equal and they come together, it is very difficult for any of them to believe in any other person. The only way for the One Kenya Alliance to make credible sense is when they go and align themselves with another person whom all of them would be so sure is better than them. Now, that person can only be Raila Odinga. Once they go and align themselves with Raila Odinga, it would be so obvious that Raila Odinga would be the flag bearer, and the rest would be able to battle down with the other position and see now how can they can now work on the regional arithmetics and deliver the presidency. But for as long as they are alone, it is very difficult for them to work. And that's why everyone is more or less crafting their own agenda and their own alliance. We see Gideon Moi trying to meet Raila Odinga. And very soon, I can assure you, it is going to become like the battle that was there when the late president was still alive. You remember the battle to see President Moi? You remember when every other leader wanted to see and take photos with President Moi, and it looked very prestigious. Okay. This journey that Gideon Moi has started to go and see Raila Odinga, trust me, you are going to see so many of the One Kenya Alliance people struggling to go and see Raila Odinga and take photos with him, because then it would look like when you meet Raila Odinga, you look like you have a better strategy than the others. So that's a coalition of competitors.
Exactly.
All right. On that note, Mundalo, let's just hold on a bit. Matsanga, also just stay put. We are taking just a very short break, at least to cool down the temperatures here in studio. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay around.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
I'm in your corner, friend. I'm in your corner. When you need someone around, you get to the money, money. Sweat to the money, money. Nothing. Get to the money, money.
Hii ni KBC Radio Taifa.
Kila kitu maishani sina sauti yaleta furaha. Sauti ya elimisha yahimiza yatuleta pamoja. Sauti ya Kenya
Radio Taifa.
All right, welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya, and of course, you are watching The Viewpoint. My name is Victor Lo. So right now, we are taking you live to the Supreme Court of Kenya, where I'm still joined by Mundalo there. Okay. And okay, of course, we have got the interview still happening at the Supreme Court of Kenya, and we are going to give you the live feed on the live feed. That is the pictures coming to you live from the Supreme Court of Kenya, where the interviews are taking place. And today we have got Justice Martha Koome, who is going to face the panel on this third day of the exercise. So we expect that to start at 9 a.m. And of course, the only place to get the whole picture is here on KBC Channel 1. So stay tuned. Mundalo, just before we went on a break, we were talking about issues here about 2022 politics. And of course, now Muho Kenyatta and Gideon Moi met Raila Odinga yesterday, and you said very well that we are yet to see more. Now, that on aside, who do you think has a higher stake in terms of One Kenya Alliance being favored after meeting Raila Odinga?
That's a very tricky question in terms of who would be highly favored in the One Kenya Alliance, because the problem I told you is the One Kenya Alliance is a coalition of people who would perceive themselves as equals, because Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka would give argument, and rightfully so, and say he would deserve to be the flag bearer because he has been vice president before, and he would say he has given it a stab just once, and therefore he deserves another chance. Maybe more or less that would be the argument of Musalia Mudavadi. And maybe Gideon Moi would say maybe the alliance needs some new...
Right, yes.
He would argue. So this is a coalition of people who are more or less equal. So in terms of who would have the highest probable chances, it is a question that is quite dicey and very tricky to answer. But then if the One Kenya Alliance miraculously is to remain as it is up to 2022, then I think the person who will have the highest chances of being their flag bearer would be Musalia Mudavadi. But again, it is very difficult for me to really assure you that the One Kenya Alliance will remain the same up to 2022. It is only about 2 months since their formation, and the fault lines can already be visible. What about 1 year later? It is very difficult.
Okay. So, right, let me bring in Masanga here briefly. And Masanga, let's talk about the issue. We have our neighbor, Tanzania, have a new president, that is President Suluhu. And she's been making several changes in her government. What are some of the changes do you think President Suluhu is more likely to bring on board to make Tanzania have more kind of relationship with the East Africa community and Africa at large?
Thank you very much. I am a great friend of the people of Tanzania from 1978, when Nyerere was alive. I grew up there. Swahili yangu ilikuwa sanifu sana, lakini ilipotelea hapo near the border when crossing back to Mtukula. But let me tell you frankly, so far the changes that she has made, she has brought back Tanzania to a place of international community.
Yes.
She's brought back the investors. She's brought back the people, the hopes of investors. For example, the turnaround of masks told the Tanzanians this disease is real. It does exist. Wear masks where possible. That's a great shift from the previous sauna operations, where you go to a sauna and think you will be healed. 2, in the foreign policy, she changed to a lady. East Africa, I am told that my country, Uganda, in May, will have a lady foreign minister, for example. That is very great news for me. She has brought in a foreign minister, a lady, a diplomat, career diplomat, who knows how to bring about and sit down and talk. 3, she's looked at the trade connectivity of East Africa. What can we do for East Africa to make it an integrated, unity a unity of East Africa, the unity of a big population, the consumption, the economic hub of the African continent.
Yes.
She's now busy molding the rail line, the Tanga Mwanza Masindi pipeline, which Kenyans lost, which is very, very bad. And the next time when you bring me on this show, I want to tell you and name and shame the Kenyans who made Kenya to lose this pipeline dream. Some of them masquerade on this TV when they write their papers. They write papers not knowing the implications of writing reports. When you write a report, always don't injure your country. Don't make your country a subject of discussion by international, multinational companies. So,
all right.
Ruhu is a blessing. Let Kenya Ministry of Foreign Affairs wear new socks, wake up, stand up, fly there, do silent diplomacy, bring back Tanzania, ikuje pamoja, tukue pamoja watu wamoja.
Yes.
Kwangu ndio hiyo.
All right. Thank you, Masanga, for that. That's quite insightful. Mundalo, if you can hear me, President Suluhu, of course, made her first official visit to Uganda. And during her swearing-in ceremony, Uganda President Yoweri Museveni was a no-show. So diplomatically, what does this portend to Kenya? Does it send some signal to Kenya? Or was it just a matter of protocol?
No, I don't see it as such a big issue because of how the world is right now. And such kind of things are also sometimes bound to happen. So I don't see how it sends a threat to Kenya just because of that one incident. But then I would want to say that President Suluhu has been able to come up quite strongly because she's been able to try and create her own path, wear her own shoe, while ensuring that she does not step onto the toes of those who thought the shoe of Magufuli was the best. Because we've seen her try to craft a very good niche in such a manner that she can still deviate from the norm, especially on the issues of the coronavirus, and bring Tanzania back to the world order without necessarily injuring those who would have overbelieved in the Magufuli way of doing things. So I think she's picked up quite well, and of course her starting off with the relations with Uganda is something that points some fingers to Kenya. But then this is not something that has just started with the President Suluhu. Even President Magufuli had already started this. Already Tanzania and Uganda were having closer connectivity, even in terms of working on projects of the road and the rail, than they wanted to actually work with Kenya. We have seen Uganda use more or less the port of Tanzania than that of Kenya. So these are things that started happening prior. We saw the relationships between Kenya and Tanzania get frosty with time. We saw one of our cabinet secretaries being flown back to Kenya for lack of passport. Yes. We saw our chicken being banned in Tanzania. So the frosty relationship is something that I think started coming up slowly. We saw President Magufuli ask Tanzanians to sell products to Kenyans at high prices. So these are things that started, and I think if we would be doing the right thing, then President Uhuru Kenyatta and maybe CS Amina Mohamed should have moved in with speed to ensure that we are able to maintain these international relations, because they might be able to cost us with time. And I think what is mostly causing this is maybe our governance structures in Kenya and our corruption levels that we are getting to even scare away countries from the international community. So yes, there has been a frosty relationship between Kenya and Tanzania. It is something that is there, let me ask you this, but we have not wanted to accept it.
Okay, Mundalo, yes. Let me ask you this question. So what role does Kenya have to play in terms of creating and helping Tanzania, quote unquote? What role does Kenya have to play in all this with Tanzania?
Yes, Yes, every country is sovereign or law, and Kenya cannot impose itself to help Tanzania unless Tanzania wishes to have the help of Kenya. So the first thing is we must first of all have the goodwill from Tanzania, and Tanzania must be able to express willingness to be helped by Kenya and in which particular sphere. Otherwise, we cannot impose Kenya to go and start helping Tanzania because every other country is sovereign and every other country has their own government and they have their own priorities.
Absolutely. Masanga, on this note, do you think President Suluhu is going to bring back Tanzania where it's supposed to be after her taking the oath of office?
Yes. The answer is yes. Some of us who have grown and known how Nyerere wanted Tanzania, we shall help from the background. 2, Kenya must wake up quickly. Kenya, there is something wrong, not coming out clearly. And although for me, you know me, my brother, if you don't call me because I've said the truth, let it be. But I already said the truth. And if you fear me, I am Paul, a Samaritan. I am not going to be shy to tell the Jews the truth. That the message is very clear. Kenya Foreign Ministry must wake up quickly. They must change tactics, strategy. We must have a vibrant foreign policy that Uhuru Kenyatta brought in. I defend the legacy of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta up to the last iota. I write about 3 books. They are coming out. And now I have got Mr. Mudaro online. We are going to be making money. Let me tell you, my brother, Kenya must wake up, pull out its socks in the foreign ministry. Don't just come on TV and tell people lies. Tell the truth. Something is not working. We got listed on a red list because people thought that Tanzanians were pouring in Kenya like wild animals come from Tanzania and cross over, come into the beast that we see around Mara. No, Kenya has put its good safeguards on COVID-19, the best in East Africa so far. That's why you see not very many people collapsing on the streets like America. Therefore, we should use that chance, go out and explain to Britain, explain to Tanzania, explain to the international community. If they don't know how to be taught on international activism, lobby, come to me. We shall teach you for free pro bono so that you can make noise. You have countries, you have a small country like Somalia, which has not even built a toilet, harassing us. No, you don't, no. Somalia has more lobbyists in The Hague. You go to The Hague outside the court, Mudaro, you will see all Somalis from Europe, about 2,000 of them, because you are talking about their country. Kenya, you have this Matanga making noise outside there, single-handedly walking. My age is catching up with me. We need more vibrant Kenyans to come out to lobby for the country internationally, to mobilize the international lobby groups, such that some of these problems are solved. Therefore, Tanzania, Suluhu, will rise and shine and give Tanzania a good name again. She has started with COVID-19, and she's told people, wear the mask.
Yes.
And I was telling Mudaro that you don't have 2 graves. Mudaro, your grave is named Mudaro M. Advice. My grave is named Dr. David Matanga, the great Pan-African, is gone. It is not named Matanga and Uhuru, or Matanga and Museveni, or Mudaro and Raila. It is named your own grave. So if you don't, you lower down your guard. You don't sanitize. You don't wash your hands. You don't wear masks. You don't keep a distance. Brother and sister, in Kenya, you go alone. Uhuru has done the best. I told you we had a painter just this week in a developed democracy. 1,600 years of democracy. They locked us down and the people did not complain. In Kenya, only 1 month, people want to kill Uhuru Kenyatta because they locked them. Our hotel is not working. Will you eat in the hotel?
Okay.
Utakula hotel when you are dead.
Sawa Masanga. Sawa Masanga.
I've said my mind on a national television, which is a government television. I have no regrets.
All right.
I defend the legacy.
Thank you, Masanga. Thank you, Masanga. Daktari, thank you. Asante. Okay. Just to bring this to a close, Mundalo, just a quick one. Of course, we expect a review at the palm prices today, and most Kenyans are saying that this is going to affect their pocket somehow. It's quite obvious. What do you think is going to be happening to the local common mwananchi? And as in, Kenyans are just crying left, right, and center. It's tough for everyone. Mundalo?
Although it is not somehow, it is obvious that this is going to have an effect on the population, on the people of Kenya, because you know oil prices affect every other thing, other, because it's the transport sector, it is the agricultural sector. Oil prices affect the pricing of every other produce. And the more we are having these oil prices escalate, then the higher the problems of the Kenyans, because the affordability of even basic products becomes a very, very big problem. And maybe one of the problems is, especially when you are doing the rise in fuel prices, at the same time with the lockdown and the pandemic, this is what is aggravating Kenyans even the more. Because the problem, maybe the difference that would be there between us as a developing country and maybe the developed world is most of our people in Kenya live hand to mouth. They live hand to mouth.
All right. Advice?
So when you're making this almost impossible for them, it becomes very difficult for even them to obey government directives. Yesterday, I was telling Professor Matanga, I was walking at other places and people could not even just wear masks in some slums, because I think the problems of these people sometimes are just too much that they really feel government does not really care about them. And that's why, because of their grievances, they take to some of these things. Sometimes it's not even intentional.
Let me come in. Before Mundalo finishes, President Uhuru Kenyatta should sack.
Let Masanga chip in.
President Uhuru Kenyatta, wait. President Uhuru, don't beat about the bush. The National Oil Corporation, the chairman, the national agency, regulatory agency, should be sacked. They are corrupt. Although you are telling me you want to bring us here and we don't cry on behalf of of the citizens. This agency must
Masanga, thank you.
to us. No. The fuel in Uganda.
Yes.
Which passes through Kenya.
Thank you, Masanga. Just hold on. Just hold on there.
Yes.
Here we have got live pictures from the Supreme Court of Kenya, and Justice Martha Koome walking in to face the panel at the JAC, the Supreme Court, where the interview is going to take place for the position of Chief Justice. Of course, she's been flanked by Registrar of the Judiciary, that is Anne Amadi, and there she is taking her hot seat. That is where she's going. Okay? That is Justice Martha Koome taking her seat there to face the JSC at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Remember, this is the third day. Yesterday we had Professor Patricia Mbote, who also faced the panel, and today it is her turn to face the panel. Of course, we are going to give you live pictures in a few minutes' time, but let's just wrap up this conversation with Dr. Masanga. Dr. Masanga, in 30 seconds, please, let me give you your 30 seconds and give me your final word. Dr. Masanga.
The final word on the fuel that is punishing people of Kenya. Please, Mr. President, look at the fuel regulatory agency. Show them the door.
Okay.
Show them the door.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you,
You have
Masanga.
nothing to care. You have nothing to care. Your legacy is at stake. If you increase the fuel now,
Yes.
with those corrupt guys going to the petrol state, oil companies, raising their money cuts, please, Muse, 2 hours.
Okay, Masanga, thank you so much. Masanga, thank you. You have 30 seconds are over, Masanga. Thank you so much. Thank you, Masanga. Thank you, Masanga, Dr. Masanga. Mundalo, you have got 20 seconds as well to give your final words. Mundalo?
Okay, thank you, Lo. My final words would be basically on the plight that Kenyans are going through. When you go through the social media streets today, and when you even go through the streets in town and other places, you will discover that there is one common denominator among Kenyans today. And all Kenyans are crying. They are crying the state of the economy. They are crying the fuel prices. They are crying the standards of living. They are crying how things have gotten very bad for them. But my running shot will be that at the end of the day, the power rests in the hands of these very Kenyans. That we are approaching an election year once again. And the decisions we take with the leadership of the country will determine whether we'll cry for another 5 years or not. It does not make sense for Kenyans to keep crying, and every time we get an opportunity to get better leadership, we repeat our own mistakes and then expect to have a better country. It is time we start making decisions with our minds rather than by our tribes.
Thank you, Mundalo. Thank you so much, Mundalo, for that. And of course, you as the viewer, thank you so much for your time. And of course, we have those are live pictures at the. All right, those are live pictures from the Supreme Court of Kenya, and we have got, that is the acting CJ, Philomena Mwilu,